Yeah, I thought I had this week's episode all figured out, and then things just took a bit of a left turn. Hi, this is Erin, and welcome to Everything EFL, my little podcast about English language teaching and other teachy stuff too. Credit and honourable mentions will be given during the episode or in the show notes. Let's crack on. Hi everyone, welcome back. Lovely to see ya. If you are new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Glad you came. Yeah, so the last 2 weeks have been pretty challenging to say the least. I was just going to talk about what my Instagram followers, like the advice they gave me to do with online teaching and report back about my first week. But the Friday before I was due to start teaching again, my dad went into hospital. And I just had to compartmentalise it and just push it to the side, which is a horrible thing to say, but it's literally the only way I could get through the week. You know, I think it takes a little bit of while to kind of figure out how much material you can get through. You got to get to know your class and all that. And I only had this class for a week, and then that was kind of the end of their course. And I think I got through it pretty well, but my God, by the Friday, as soon as the lesson finished and I turned off Skype, I just sat down on my sofa and I cried. And it was like everything that I'd pushed aside just came out, which I suppose is kind of a healthy thing. So I got up on the first Monday, about 2.25 hours before the lesson was due to start, did my exercise, did the lesson, prepared, did the same Tuesday, did the same Wednesday. By Thursday, I couldn't finish my exercise, I had to stop. And by Friday, to be quite frank, I was fucked. I couldn't get out of bed. I laid in bed an hour later than usual, didn't do any exercise, barely got through the lesson alive. Barely got through the lesson in one piece. And another thing, you just don't want to look at your phone, you don't want to look at your computer, do you? I missed my Friday Zoom quiz, which never happens, but I literally couldn't face looking at another screen again on Friday. Luckily, my friend who runs a quiz is also a teacher, and she completely understood where I was coming from. But then it really got me thinking, a lot of you teachers, you've been teaching for a year, and it's, this kind of teaching, it takes up so much of your energy and your thoughts. And, shit happens in life. People get ill, some of you have got kids. And it just really made me think, how hard it really must have been for pretty much most teachers for this year. And I applaud you for that, for getting through it. And I also started thinking about my mental health as well, because it has taken a bit of a battering in the last 10 days, 2 weeks. Like I said, my dad went into hospital. He's still there, but I had to find a way to deal with that. So thank God the weather improved and I was able to get out into my garden and, plant some seeds, put them in my windowsill, do a bit of propagating, all of those things that brought me immense joy last year. The cycle started again and I'm so relieved. I just couldn't wait to get outside when the weather started improving. And every day since, the sun has shone? See, this is what I'm talking about. I try and get outside and I sit on my sun lounger. Even if I'm fully clothed, with a jumper and tracksuit bottoms, I'll sit outside with a podcast and close my eyes and just feel the warmth of the sun. And that is what puts me in a better mood and it's just helping me through. I'd love to know what you guys do to keep your mental health in check during these times. Some of you are still locked down, some of you are not. Me personally, I think this kind of stuff's been building for a while for me because it feels like we've been in this endless lockdown in Ireland. We had a 2-week break over Christmas, but we've just been locked down for months. And I think we're going to be locked down until April. And it's a really depressing thought. So it's really nice that the weather's improved. So at least I can get outside now. Anyway, I don't want to put a dampener on this week's podcast, but I just had to get that out there. And I really would love to know what you other teachers do to keep your mental health in check, because it's such an important thing. We have to keep ourselves balanced. We can't let the bad stuff overwhelm us, especially when we have to face a group of individuals 5 days a week for a certain amount of hours. We've got to be chipper and we've got to give them pep talks and keep their spirits up, and it's absolutely bloody exhausting. But then you don't need me to tell you that. So I really hope that you are looking after yourselves, and I would love you guys to comment on Instagram or Facebook about how you're looking after yourself as well, because it's really important that we support each other and we share our ideas and help each other through this. If you are going back to school, congratulations, I suppose. How are you feeling about it? Are you trepidatious? Do you think it's too soon? Let us know. The second week has been a little bit easier, but as EFL teachers, we don't get a break in the summer. We just work through and get 2 weeks at Christmas. And obviously you can take holiday if you like at some point. Generally, you don't get paid for it because our contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on. So I'm just wondering, give it another 6 or 8 months, how we're going to feel. Are we going to be like more burned out than we usually would? So let's talk about the biggest shocks, okay? Because there was a lot of stuff I was quite prepared for because, like I said, my lovely Instagram followers helped me. But I found that there was definitely a lot more teacher talk time and a lot less student talk time. I can't even tell you why, but that's the way it kind of worked out. And it takes a lot longer for conversations to get going or for students to answer questions online. And my CCQs and my ICQs went out the window. Like there was none of that, possibly because I just felt like everything was taking so long. I just had to keep moving with the lesson. I don't know. My timing was definitely off, but I think that's natural. You learn basically to use less. Less is more, I think. I couldn't... breakout room monitoring was a bit of a joke. I just, you can't, in a classroom, you can see all the groups. You can see whether they're having trouble. You can see whether they've stopped talking, whether they're bored, whether they're having issues. You can't see that when they're in breakout rooms. So I just found myself like going into one breakout room, but constantly worrying about what the other groups were doing. Like it's going to be 3-4 minutes until I get to the final breakout room group. What if they're sitting there doing nothing or they're stuck? So I was like, I just found myself jumping in and out of breakout rooms, not doing any meaningful monitoring. I don't really feel like I helped anyone. There was barely any error correction and sort of no time for collective or delayed error correction at the end either. I think like sort of technically and mechanically you can do the right thing, but fundamental teaching methods, I couldn't get a handle on them at all, and hopefully that's something I can improve on. I just didn't account for it. I mean, did you guys go through the same thing? One thing I promised myself in the second week was I was not going to put as much pressure on myself, and I definitely wasn't going to spend as long preparing. But I mean, I think we always say that, and it just never happens because we prepare and we prepare and we prepare until we think we've got it right. I hope I'm not sounding like too much of a wet blanket here. It is going to get more positive, honestly. Here it comes. Okay, so I asked for my lovely Instagram followers for some advice for my first week of teaching, and boy, did you give it. And did I follow it? I tried my damn best. So the lovely Erin Myers of the Educator's Mindset podcast, good friend of mine, she basically told me to get the first few days going, getting to know everybody, doing lots of activities like that. I've done a couple of those this week with my new class. I am feeling the pressure to get on with the syllabus though, and I'm just trying to push that out of my mind at the moment because I'm still debating whether to really use the syllabus or not, or whether just to go on my own merry way, because I'm not convinced course books really work well online. I've kind of done away with them for my private students, which I think was a great idea, like focusing on sort of stuff that they enjoy talking about and researching and topics that interest them. So one of the things I did do was I made sure that I found out what my class are into and try and sort of find some commonalities there and try and work that into the lessons as much as I can, which, that's not new. That's not rocket science. I'm not telling anything you don't already know. But my point is the course books don't always address that. And I just think, I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm not convinced the course books work that well online. What do you think? The lovely Wanda from WA Workshop said, be patient with yourself when something goes wrong, because it will. I've been pretty lucky so far. I've had a few little, forgot to unmute and things like that, but I'm going to put that down to fatigue. She said, have a plan B platform ready just in case, which I absolutely love. I love that idea of a plan B. So I have basically been putting all my materials on the Edmodo platform or emailing them before the lesson. So 1, everybody's prepared and everybody's got anything. And 2, students can look and prepare themselves a little bit for the class before we start. And she also said you will learn to adapt your material, which is something I'm learning as I go. It's still taking a lot of time. Are you still finding that adapting material takes a long time? ClaireStacey.uk said, don't be afraid to let students help you with any tech support because there's a high chance they would already have been in classes laughing at teachers, stressing out while things are going wrong. And it also makes them feel important if they can help, which I love this. I think it's really good. I haven't experienced that yet, but hey, you never know. She also said, relax, it's not as scary as you think. Yeah, I mean, my main aim is not to stress about it and take it as it comes. And I think I've been doing okay at that, to be honest. Myra, who is mhanani99 on Instagram, who's actually a former student of mine and who's now a teacher, she basically said practice self-care. So I thought, okay, we have a 15-minute break sort of halfway through the lesson. It's about 3 hours, but about an hour in, I also do like just a 2-minute break where I say to students, okay, switch off your mics, switch off your camera, walk away from your computer, don't check your phones, don't check Instagram, just rest your eyes. Now, obviously, I don't know if they do that. I try and do that, but I just think it's really important not to be staring at that screen for hours on end. The lovely Sinead McMorrow, who has been in episodes 35 and 37 of mine, says, do not fear the silence. It was nice to know this before I went into the lesson, but those silences still can be quite painful. She also said everything takes longer than it would in a real classroom. Absolutely it does. So, and think about how to make instructions clear in as many ways as you can, which is really good. So I've got the auto captions turned on. So they're listening to me and they're reading. And then for any activities, I write the instructions down on Jamboard as well. So there's potentially 3 ways there of conveying the instructions. John from An Unconventional Teacher says, don't do much. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Hand clap, heart emoji. Love this. Definitely. In the first week, I was given loads of material to do every lesson. And I took one piece of material and I just exploited that for the whole lesson. It was kind of random worksheets and things, so it was kind of easier to do. Now, again, with the course book, you kind of feel like you have to get through it. And I'm just sort of learning to just do less and maybe exploit 1 or 2 exercises or materials and just leave it at that. Phil from It's an English Thing. By the way, if you have high-level students, his Instagram page is absolutely full of fantastic high-level vocabulary, really natural phrases. I haven't seen an Instagram page as good as his when it comes to high-level phrases and expressions, so turn your students onto that. He said an online lesson is still a lesson. Grand. But he said, suggest having a practice run with a friend so that you know what all the buttons do. And I think this is one of the best pieces of advice I was given. I did have a practice run with a friend the weekend before, and it really increased my confidence, actually. And I did let the students know that it was my first day. And one of them actually remarked, oh, you seem to know what you're doing. And I was like, oh, that's good. So thanks, Phil. English with Aaliyah just basically talks about preparing at least 10 minutes before the lesson, get in the mood, prepare your water, your laptop and all of those things. So I try to listen to a song or put a song on just as the students are entering the waiting room a couple of minutes before the time. I'll have a song playing. I've had Dolly Parton. I've had Rocky Road to Dublin, which is a traditional Irish song. I try and have something upbeat and different every day. Cindy_ELT says invest in a drawing tablet and use it in conjunction with OneNote and something called Wacom or Wacom as well. Maybe in the future, Cindy. I'm taking a lot in at the moment, but definitely something to consider in the future. Mo Aladad said that, it takes a little bit of time to learn what everything does. Give some thought to the camera policy as well. But that was already decided for me for the school. No camera, no presence marked on the register. Mary Grennan, who's my old boss, she's currently in International House in Galway, basically told me to use the chat box for lots of things like pair checking and brainstorming. I haven't used it a lot. I've used it a little bit, but I definitely plan to do it more because sometimes putting people in breakout rooms and stuff, it takes time and then everything just takes a little bit of time to get going. But when I do put them in breakout rooms, I make sure that one of them has access to my Jamboard so they can share their screen, or whatever document we're looking at, one of them will always share a screen so they're focused on something as well. So yeah, it kind of feels more like a month than 2 weeks, but it's all a learning process, and I'm really, really glad that I had this advice to anticipate a lot of the stuff. It definitely made that first week easier, especially with everything else going on. So I kind of decided, do I need some resolutions for this week, like for the second week? So I decided maybe to get up a bit later and to be kinder to myself. I think I've been kinder to myself, but I haven't got up later. I've decided that after a year of having no structure in my life, let me just backtrack there. I've been unemployed for a year and I've never been unemployed for more than a few weeks. So I found it very hard to implement any kind of structure into my day. Really, really hard. But with this, now I'm teaching again, I've got structure. So I get up, I do my exercise, I have a shower, I have my breakfast, and then I'm ready to go. That's fine. I don't have to get up later. Because for me, putting that structure in is really beneficial. Be kinder to myself, definitely. I'm going to spend time in my garden. I'm going to try and take, more breaks from the screen. As soon as the lesson's finished, I've tried my hardest to get up, get outside and take the dog for a walk. So I've got that kind of time just to clear my head. I'm fighting a losing battle at the moment though, because it's still taking me a long time to prepare. Again, the course book, haven't quite figured out how to exploit it to its fullest yet. But look, I've been doing it for less than 2 weeks. I'm not going to, I'm not beating myself up over this. I think I'm doing pretty well considering. And, that kind of balancing act or getting everything into some kind of decent balance, that will come in time. So yeah. I'd love to know what you guys think. How much of this can you relate to? And I'd love to hear from you on my social media. Now, usually at this point, I would say goodbye and there would be a little pre-recorded message. But I think I just want to speak to everybody directly. So this podcast is free and it always will be. And it really makes me happy to make it. And it's always a thrill when I see the numbers of people listening rising every week, which is, ultimately my goal. But I would ask you, if you enjoyed this podcast, if you think that someone you know would benefit from it or who would enjoy it, please consider sharing it. Share it on your social media or copy the link and send it directly to somebody's WhatsApp or Messenger or into their inbox. If you listen on Spotify or Apple, you can write a review and give me some stars, which will help push me up the ratings. Podcasting is quite a saturated market. There are a lot of podcasts out there. I like to think I offer something a little bit different. If you agree, talk me up. If you'd like to contact me, you can do it through email. My email's on the show notes. You can DM me, Instagram and Facebook. And I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me rant and ramble on and just get my thoughts out. This is probably the least scripted, structured podcast I've done, and it's probably going to sound a little bit messier than my usual one, but I suppose it kind of reflects the state of mind that I'm in at the moment. I'm definitely better than I was last week. So stay safe, guys. Follow the regulations. Look after yourself. And look after yourself as well. Make sure you have a little bit of headspace for yourself every day, even if you have to lock yourself in your bedroom for 10 minutes and lay on the bed and meditate. Do it. So I will see you next week. Bye.